All right, best of April in Major League Baseball. And we have to remember, so we compile all the data to come up with the awards, and we find all of the data on Outlier. Because Outlier is a sports betting decision assistant for aspiring and intermediate and advanced sports bettors who understand that data is the foundation for a profitable sports betting strategy. Outlier pairs hyper-contextual and relevant sports data with available betting markets. Now, it is used for betting, but the reason I like it, and unlike traditional sports data sites like ESPN and Baseball Reference, Outlier organizes and visualizes data for easy comprehension, efficient decision making, and immediate execution. So make sure to check out their first of its kind strike zone heat maps and pitch arsenal roundups that allow us to quickly visualize pitcher and batter matchups all in one screen. It's available on iOS, desktop, and mobile browsers. Get your 7-day free trial, free 7-day free trial at outlier.bet/justbaseball. You can find that in the episode description. Try the 7-day free trial, especially if you're a bettor. But even if you're not, tons and tons of data. And if you don't like it, just cancel. My guess is you won't because it's freaking awesome. Let's start in the American League, and we'll start with the three best hitters. We also have honorable mentions given out to Tyler O'Neill and Colton Cowser, but we'll work 3, 2, 1. I'll go with the third guy. I'll toss it over to you, some of the best things that you've seen from him this year, and then we'll just keep going through the list. The third best hitter in the American League for the month of April is Gunnar Henderson of the Baltimore Orioles. Put up a 177 WRC plus, which is third in Major League Baseball, at least in the American League. 289, 352, 632 slash line. Among all the finalists here, he's got the 10 home runs. He's also number one in FWAR. But if we're looking at the bats, he hasn't been quite as good as our top two guys. But when you add in defense, he might be the best overall player in the American League to this point. Arm, the maturation of Gunnar Henderson.
It's been so fun to watch. It was like that little lull that he had last year feels like a lifetime ago now, where I mean, he is now one of the premier players in the game. And it's so cool to see him and Bobby Witt kind of at the same time enjoying this ascension into not only just stardom, but really superstardom and kind of the future of the shortstop position in Major League Baseball. What's amazing to me too with this is that Gunner's doing it without walking that much. I mean, and I'm not worried about it. Like he's going to walk more, but how do you convince him to walk more when he's slugging better than anybody right now? And it's just been a machine. When he starts to be pitched to a bit more carefully, which I think is going to start to happen more and more, and he's a little bit more selective. We'll see that on base percentage climb. But to slug 600 in that ballpark, and I know it's more difficult to hit it out as a righty, but still Gunner's a guy that likes to go to all fields. To be doing that is just absolutely insane. And in the month, a 90th percentile exit velocity of 109 miles an hour. That's one of the best figures in Major League Baseball this month. That puts him up there with the best power hitters in the game. So Gunner is also just turning into a guy that can absolutely scorch baseballs with the best of them.
Orioles fans are already upset because he is not 2 or 1. But at number 2, Juan Soto of the New York Yankees. A late change because we had to compile all the stats up to Tuesday, April 30th. So I'm sorry we don't have the stats for Tuesday, April 30th. This is everything up until. And right now, Juan Soto is second to the American League in WRC Plus at 183, meaning he is 83% above the league average hitter once you park adjust. 316, 429, 553 slash line. He's got 7 bombs, but the allure of Juan Soto, 24 walks to only 18 strikeouts, has literally made the Yankees not the worst offense ever to watch at points. Obviously, the Yankees offense is normally great, tons of power, but the way he has changed the lineup, they went from a swing happy team to maybe the most patient team in Major League Baseball, among the league leaders in pitches per plate appearance. Juan Soto has changed the landscape of this Yankees lineup, and I know Yankee fans, including myself, are giving him a blank check, and it's only Tuesday, April 30th, Arm.
I mean, I know that's the funny thing. I'm hearing Yankees fans say whatever it takes,
Whatever it
whatever,
takes.
and I get it. I
Whatever it
get it
takes.
because when's the last time you've seen a hitter this like just refreshing? I know like so many Yankees power hitters over the last few years have just been frustrating. And even Judge, like Judge is awesome. And there's nothing frustrating really about having a player that good, but he has his ebbs and flows. I think that you just don't really get other than that little stretch last year where Soto was weirdly slumping. But like really other than that, he's never even really had extended slumps in his entire career. I think the idea of him in Yankee Stadium is just so terrifying because the guy goes the other way with the best of them, and this month hit several home runs the other way. I think three of them, but also like he's going to get away with mishitting baseballs that get out to the pull side, and the fact that he's just consistently walking more than he strikes out, and now with Judge heating up, those two guys together, if they're hot at the same time, what do you do? Like we talk about the Dodgers lineup, a hot Aaron Judge and a hot Juan Soto as long as everybody around them isn't sucking and with the way Volpe's playing, like that's a very, very tough lineup to get out, both from a plate discipline standpoint and just from the fact that they can kill you in one swing.
It does stink though. At least the past couple of weeks, Volpe has been struggling, and Waldo Cabrera has been struggling. But as they start to falter, here comes Aaron Judge. Anthony Rizzo has been putting up better at bats, as has Alex Verdugo. And then you always have the couple of home runs that Giancarlo Stanton sprinkles in. The only problem with Stanton, and I don't know if you've seen this lately, he cannot run at all. You'd think that slimming down would create 25 speed on the 20 to 80 scale, even though we don't even do fives. Like, just give us 25. Nope, it's almost below 20. But regardless, we're going to talk about the Yankees once we get to the top 5 teams. But the American League hitter of the month is Jose Altuve of the Houston Astros. 191 WRC plus, that's first in the American League, hitting 342, 414, 596. Let's put the buzzers to bed, people. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my mind and one of the greatest second basemen to ever play the game. 7 home runs, 4 steals for him. Now, it certainly helps playing a couple of games in Mexico with the high elevation, but that's why we use WRC plus. It is park adjusted. He is 91% better than the league average hitter, number 2 in all of Major League Baseball. We'll talk about number 1 when we get to the National League. What else can we say other than Jose Altuve is one of the greatest second basemen to ever play the game, and he's our hitter of the month for April somehow?
I mean, it's just how does he not slow down? When is he going to stop hitting? He's going to be 34. He's going to be 34 in a week, and the guy just does not stop hitting. It's one of the more absurd things to watch. And yes, he is hitting some friendly environments, and you look at the home runs, they're all pull side over those Crawford boxes, but they're not that cheap. Like he's really crushing a lot of these. And I just think the fact that he's able to leverage the pull side power, but he's also able to go the other way when he needs to. The fact that he almost never swings and misses in this month, in zone contact rate of 92% is elite. Walking nearly as much as he strikes out. The fact that he has been this good and they're still so bad, the Astros, it shows you kind of where they're at right now. Because it's not like he can really perform much better. How do you do much better than a 1,000 OPS in a month? It's just they are so starved besides him and a couple other guys here and there that it just really accentuates, I think, how tough things are in Houston. But Altuve is never going to be the problem. And I think even as he ages, his contract, he's going to probably go down, I think, even though he's going to make a lot of money, a couple $100 million, he might still go down as one of the most undervalued players of all time. I think just from like a contract standpoint, because if you look at the WAR production and then what he's ultimately going to end up getting paid, I think there's not going to be very many guys in the modern era, especially in the last 20 years, that are going to compare to that.
And I was thinking about this, and I don't know if this is like kind of a bad take, but I wanted to bring it up anyway. I think Jose Altuve has probably inspired baseball players the same way Steph Curry maybe has inspired basketball players. Shorter build, but I can beat you doing this. And Altuve has done that. Even at a very small stature, we can still hit home runs. Now, they might not go 500 like those big guys, but all it takes is just to get it over the fence. So if we elevate, we can get to that power. We're going to steal bags. We're going to be a grinder. We're going to play good defense. And we're going to be one of the best players in Major League history at only 5'6". Now, best players in Major League history. I mostly meant best second baseman in Major League history, but he is going to be. And so, not to the level, Steph Curry's just so global, but Jose Altuve, at least in our neck of the woods, I think has probably inspired a lot of smaller baseball players who want to make the show.
100%. I think it's a great point. Also, I think opens front offices' minds a little bit. I mean, we've had not a lot of players. I don't know what the exact number is, but I'm pretty sure there's never been a first rounder drafted that is shorter than 5'7" until Jet Williams, when they had to like fully measure him for the ABS, and they realized, oh wait, he's even a little bit shorter than his listed height. And I mean, that's a guy that went first round, though. I think that the Mets ultimately kind of knew what his size was there, and he's one of the best prospects in baseball. Then you have a guy this draft now again that coming up in July, Slade Caldwell, who will go in the first round. So you have another 5'6", 5'7" first rounder. So after really having almost none of those guys forever, we're gonna have 2 out of 3 years here where we've got sub 5'8", first round picks. So I mean, does that happen if there is no Altuve? Maybe, but I definitely think that Altuve helped GMs and executives be a little bit more open-minded to the fact that athletes are better than ever right now. I mean, they're just freaks. And even if you're smaller, you can still produce at a really high clip if you have some special abilities. I think Jet Williams has some special abilities, not to Altuve's degree, but has some special abilities. And I think Caldwell has some special abilities. So I think it's really, one, made teams more open-minded, and then two, I think you're 100% right. If I'm 5'5", 5'6", look at how many people coming up, how many players coming up that are shorter pitchers say that Marcus Stroman's their favorite arm. How many of these shorter pitchers have said, oh, I love Stroman. He's an inspiration for me? Because how long were we talking about, oh, you can't be a short pitcher. It's too difficult. You're not going to be effective. And that's kind of been put to bed. I think Stroman's been helpful in that as well. I totally agree. I think Altuve is going to be a lot of 5'7", 5'8", 5'9" players' favorite player to watch when they get up to the big leagues. And I'm sure he'll be mentioned plenty.
Think about it. Yoshinobu Yamamoto just signed a $325 million deal without throwing a pitch. And he's around 5'10", maybe 170 soaking wet. It's a short guy season. Let's switch over to the National League, and let's go over the best hitters of the month. Honorable mention, Elly De La Cruz, 18 stolen bases, tons of home runs, plenty of electricity, but he didn't quite crack the top three. And the top three begins in Philly with third baseman Alec Bohm of the Philadelphia Phillies, a 189 WRC plus that has him tied for second in the National League. 364, 439, 607 slash line with 4 bombs, but I think arguably the most impressive, 29 RBIs. He has been a straight up weapon with runners in scoring position. If you have ducks on the pond and Alec Bohm is up, more often than not, those runners are stepping on home plate. He has been a run producer. His defense has improved, and the bat is exactly what we thought the ceiling could be when he was drafted number 3 out of Wichita State as just a freak of a hitter, and we're seeing it unfold in the first month of the season.
What a game changer this is for the Phillies, huh? I mean, if you have Alec Bohm doing this, it's part of the reason why I think they can palate the Nick Castellanos struggles out of the gate. We were talking about it on the last episode. Like it is kind of mind blowing how much he can improve from one year to the other. And we were waiting on this. So we kept saying, oh, when are the EVs going to translate into, more slug? This guy hits the ball so consistently and hits it hard. Why aren't we seeing more slug? Now he's elevating a lot more, but also it's all fields. And if you have this field to hit, you're elevating and it's to all fields. He's really tough to beat right now. He's crushing breaking balls. He's crushing heaters. He seems like he just has the utmost confidence in his ability to get to anything. And I think that's a big reason why he's been able to drive in runs to the clip that he has. More selective at the plate too. 15 walks against 17 strikeouts in this month when you're also this productive and slugging the way that he is slugging. I mean, obviously he's not going to hit 368 the whole year, Peter, but like where do you think that this is a new Alec Bohm? Like, are you buying in on the fact that, this is finally coming to fruition with him and, he may be an all-star caliber third baseman moving forward? Or do you think this is just kind of a hot start? He found something, he's better, but this is a hot start.
I think more of the latter in the sense of, do I think he's going to hit 368? No, but I do think that this is the most improved version of Alec Bohm. cutting down on the swing and miss, being able to hit both fastballs and breaking balls, being able to hit both righties and lefties. This is just, we're seeing the maturation process into what I think can be a 290 type hitter who's hitting about 25 home runs, driving in plenty of runs. That's and playing good defense at third, or good-ish, at least much more improved than what it was. And it's just so funny that this guy he went from I hate this place to the run producer for Philly at this point. Like, it's a really cool story. It's a really cool roller coaster. There have been some downs, but this is the up point. And I don't think we're going to see as many craters, as many valleys as maybe Phillies fans have been used to when dealing with Alec Boehm. So that's how I think he improves. I think those valleys are much shorter. The top of the hills are higher, and we end up just having a very solid season, a continuation, less struggles, and he ends up being in that 290 range with 25 home runs. I think that's a decent projection for Alec Boehm moving forward this year.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a great player, especially with the way that he has been producing runs, like you said. And if we take a dive at like who he's homered off of, you mentioned the 4 home runs, this month. It's Crochet twice, Jared Jones, and Dylan Cease. Crochet twice, Jared Jones, and Dylan Cease. I mean, so it's not just that he's been productive. I mean, he is hitting the ball against some of the best right now out of the gate. I think that's also pretty absurd too.
That is absolutely absurd. I got 4 homers. Garrett Crochet, Dylan Cease, and Jared Jones. Yeah, we're going to take that. We're going to take that. But at number 2, the big bad wolf, Marcell Ozuna of the Atlanta Braves. 189 WRC plus, again, tied with Alec Boehm. But what puts him a little bit over the top is the fact that he's got 9 home runs, which is first in the National League. And he's also got a 330, 405, 650 slash line. And we talk about RBIs. Alec Boehm has plenty of them, but there's no better run producer right now in Major League Baseball than Marcell Ozuna. And yes, RBIs is a tough stat. Alec Boehm on the Phillies, Marcell Ozuna on the Braves. What do those two teams have in common? Well, they have a pretty good damn front of the lineup in front of these guys. But at the same time, you can only play and you can only hit what's in front of you. And those two guys are driving in runs better than anybody in Major League Baseball. Like, I mean, nothing's ever sat right with me with Marcell Ozuna. It just hasn't. Tell me what you like about him. I mean, we could move on quickly. I don't know. It's always
it's crazy.
I know. I don't know.
He is unreal right now. It is crazy. That kind of power. Like, we knew when he's going right, okay, he's gonna run into bombs. Like, sure, that's what he does. He runs into bombs. But 32 hits in 24 games this month? Like, that's insane. Like, he's a complete hitter right now. He's striking out 16% of the time. He's walking 12%. I don't know if that sustains, but the fact that he is slugging the way that he's slugging, like you mentioned, with the 8 home runs this month, 9 on the year, but then also piling up the hits like this. I mean, it is unfair. The Braves are officially unfair when Marcell Ozuna is doing this and Ozzy Albies is healthy. I just don't know how anyone, keeps this lineup at bay. Bryce Miller did the other day, which was crazy, but I just don't know how anybody does it when Ozuna's swinging it like this. The lineup just becomes pretty much unstoppable.
And I was going to say, well, you have to factor in Sean Murphy as well. That's another piece they're missing. But at the same time, Travis d'Arnaud is replacing his raking. So, you could add him in and then he's going to rake too, and everybody's going to rake, and it doesn't even matter. And the fact that the Braves offense is doing all of this without Ronald Acuna Jr. being that MVP type candidate up to this point, and the same thing with Austin Riley. Like, context is important with the Braves. When we're talking about Acuna and Riley aren't doing that well in relation to themselves, who are some of the best players in Major League Baseball. When I start comparing Ronald Acuna Jr. to other right fielders on middling teams, yeah, he's better than them. Congratulations. But in relation, the reason the Braves have been so prolific, a big part of that is Marcell Ozuna. So now, before we move on to our National League Hitter of the Month, all those on YouTube probably understand and see that Arm Layton is in a different location. So So we want to apologize to all the listeners. Maybe the internet, the audio wasn't exactly perfect. Hopefully this time around it's a little bit clearer. We wanted to nick the problem in the bud as soon as possible. And Arm, I don't mind your background. It's a little different. It's fine.
It's my roommate, so I'm over in his room now because he's closer to the modem. We're working on it. We're gonna get the Wi-Fi up and running a little bit better on my end. I got a little extender, so yeah. Sorry if I sounded a little modulated earlier, and if you're not going crazy if you're wondering how I just appeared in another room, like in the middle of the episode, if you're watching on YouTube. But thanks for bearing with us.
Maybe if our takes get a little bit better, our podcast will grow more, and then we can afford some more internet. But for now, we are where we are, and we're going to keep giving our takes. And the best hitter in the National League for the month of April is Mookie Betts of the Los Angeles Dodgers. 214 WRC plus. That's 114% better than the league average hitter, which ranks number one in all of Major League Baseball. 377, 479, 639 slash line. He's got 6 bombs already, 8 stolen bases, and the number one F-WAR in Major League Baseball at 2.7. And that might not sound crazy, even though it should. Gunnar Henderson leads the American League at 2.1. It's April 30th, the day we're recording. If you combine Gunnar Henderson and a 0.6 F-WAR player, 0.6 F-WAR at this point is pretty solid.
Yeah.
Mookie's doing everything.
I mean, the fact that they were planning on putting him at second base to preserve his health a little bit, right? Keep him fresh. The back could be a little bit of an issue. Like let's manage his workload a bit. And then, oh no, actually, Mookie, we need you at shortstop. I was like, okay, well, I wouldn't be shocked if that, impacts him a little bit offensively. Never mind. Nope, not an issue at all. Also, by the way, he's phenomenal at shortstop. But the fact that he is just, if anything, hitting as well as he ever has, or right on par with the best versions of Mookie Betts that we have seen, while taking on shortstop for, one of the most talented, if probably on paper, the most talented team in baseball. Like it's just absolutely absurd. And I just love all the different ways that he can impact the game. He walks a ton, almost twice as much as he strikes out. He's a guy that can slug, clearly. He can hit home runs, but also doubles, singles. I just think there's so many ways that he can help his team win a ball game. And we're seeing it reflected across the board in the stat line. And also this year, in-zone contact rate of 92.5%. So he doesn't swing and miss at anything. 15% chase rate, so he's rarely expanding the zone either. Like, how do you get this guy out?
I don't know. And I don't think any pitcher in Major League Baseball knows. No coach knows, because how do you get the man out? So that'll do it for our National League and American League hitters of the month. We're going to move on to pitchers, but first, quick breaking news. We actually get this across as Aram is changing locations to get some better internet. Horrible, horrible news. Mike Trout, potentially season ending. The first report out is that it's not season ending surgery on his knee. A torn meniscus for a guy that was finally looking healthy, leading Major League Baseball in home runs, technically tied with Gunnar Henderson with 10. We have to remember, it's April 30th. I think everybody knows because this is the best of April, but still, to put that into context. But what gets me, Aram, 6 stolen bases. He hasn't done that in years. The legs were healthy. The back was healthy. And he was doing Mike Trout shit. And I think, Addison posted this on Twitter at Yankees World. Made a really good point. No matter what team you're a fan of, everybody in baseball collectively is rooting for Mike Trout's success.
Yeah.
Everybody. Everybody is on the same page. But unfortunately, the same thing happens again. Mike Trout is not healthy once again, and it breaks my heart because he is one of my favorite players ever. And I think one of most fans' favorite players, and is going to go down as an all-time great. Luckily, he seems older than he is. He's still just 32. He should be able to rehab this, and hopefully he returns this season. But crushing news in the middle of, I thought, a fun episode so far.
No, it's at the point. I mean, we were already kind of there where it's like, okay, is he ever going to be healthy? And I kind of accepted that. Okay, we'll get maybe 70% of Trout when he's on the field in terms of his abilities. But then he started doing what he was doing this year especially from a power perspective. And I'm like, okay, maybe he won't, hit for as much average because he's not quite as quick as he used to be. But I think he still clearly has a ton of power. Like he's still going to be close enough to Mike Trout. But now you just wonder how many bullets this guy can take with all these different injuries, with the back thing that seemingly isn't going to go away. They were saying it's more of a management thing, and now he has a knee issue. Fortunately, meniscus instead of something more drastic like an ACL or multiple ligaments being hurt, but it just stinks. And I do wonder now, if the Angels, when he comes back, start to just look at the maybe a plan of DHing him more. He started 24 of his 29 games in center field this year. And we don't know when the injury happened. There wasn't like a specific play, as far as we know at this point, that stood out and said, oh, no, that doesn't look good. So I'm really interested to see as we get more details on that. But I think they need to start looking at Mike Trout in a DH role and maybe the occasional corner outfield role to try to preserve this guy. Because at the end of the day, when we look back on Mike Trout's career, I'm not going to care about what he did defensively in his later 30s or even just from 33 onward. We already have the highlight reel catches. We already have some of the best home run robberies in baseball history. I just want to see Mike Trout hit. I want to see Mike Trout get to 500 home runs, and I want to see this guy have some longevity. And I think the way to do that might be DHing him after this injury and maybe considering that, especially back. A lot of players say like the outfield can really wear them down, especially on turf. I know they don't have turf there, but he's going to play in some places that have turf. I just would love to see him DH'd, preserved, and like let's at least just be able to watch this guy hit consistently. I think that might be the best option.
Couldn't agree with you more. And as we get more information on Mike Trout, we'll let you guys know here on the Just Baseball show. But on a brighter note, we have some American League pitchers and some National League pitchers to give them their flowers. We'll start in the American League. Honorable mentions go to Cutter Crawford and of the Boston Red Sox and Ronel Blanco of the Houston Astros, both off to incredible starts, but they didn't quite crack the top three. And we start the top three with Jose Barrios of the Toronto Blue Jays, the lowest ERA among qualified starters. Technically, Reynaldo Lopez pitches today as we're speaking, but he's not quite qualified. But among those who are, Jose Barrios, 1.23 ERA. Peripherals slightly concerning at a 3.84 FIP. He has less strikeouts, more walks, but the best run prevention so far in baseball among qualified pitchers. That's why he comes in at 3. He doesn't quite have the electrifying numbers of 2 and 1 when it comes to racking up the Ks, recording lower amounts of walks, and he doesn't have quite as many innings, but he still has to crack the top 3 with a 1.23 ERA.
Yeah, I mean, when you're pacing the league in ERA of qualified starters, you're gonna get that nod. But I'm with you. I think this is a guy that's probably out pitching the peripherals a bit. And the thing is the peripherals are probably closer to what he's normally been, and I think he's gonna settle in and the low to mid 3s, so a little bit better than the peripherals. But right now, I think, as you mentioned, he's kind of seeing the results of, hey, don't give away too many free passes, get a lot more contact on the ground. His ground ball rate in the early going this year is up about 6-7%, keeping the ball in the yard. You can have these nice stretches where you might be outperforming your peripherals. He's still just proven, though, that he's a great chance to give you a quality start every 5th day, and he's off to a great start this year.
Hard to not call him the ultimate workhorse in Major League Baseball now with Garrett Cole's injury. Just the only guy, him and Aaron Nola, the guys that we could just rely on to just throw every 5th day. And when Jose Barrios is on, you see the results, a 1.23 ERA. But number 2, Tarek Skubal of the Detroit Tigers, 1.72 ERA, 2.20 FIP. He's got the highest strikeout rate on this list and the second lowest walk rate. And at 36 2/3, it's the same amount of innings as Jose Barrios. While he has a slightly higher ERA, he excels in every other number that's important to us. So he gets this slight edge here at number 2. We were hyping him up all offseason. He was my Cy Young pick. I don't know if you and Jack picked him as a Cy Young, but he was definitely up there for you guys. I don't know if he's going to win the Cy Young, but he's damn close right now.
The command is what's amazing. I mean, this guy's filling up the zone, a 4% walk rate, and then you look across his arsenal, whether it's the four-seamer, the changeup, which has been disgusting, by the way, the sinker, the slider, All of those pitches, he's landing for a strike 66% or more, overall strike rate of 70%. So when you're pounding the zone like that, you already have a good chance. But then when you consider the fact that he's pounding the zone with 96 on top of a plus changeup, that, by the way, is, I think, performing as well as any changeup in baseball, 27% swinging strike rate is nuts. The sinker with late life is ridiculous. And then mixing in that slider. Like, to have that arsenal and also be filling up the zone the way Scooble is, I mean, it's no surprise that he's dominating hitters. And I think, honestly, it's one of those where he might not really slow down too much either. We're talking about some guys outperforming the peripherals. I don't think Scooble really is. I think we can see a lot more of this potentially the rest of the year as long as he stays healthy.
I love talking to Jack about Scooble because whenever I break him down, he always just goes, bro, the changeup. That's all he could say. Just the changeup. And he's so right. I just don't know how anybody touches that pitch. It's commanding a crazy high whiff rate, opponent batting average super, super low. Just one of the best pitches overall in the game. But number one, Tanner Houck. Nobody in the American League has been a better pitcher in the month of April than Tanner Houck of the Boston Red Sox. 1.60 ERA, 2.01 FIP. He's got the second highest strikeout rate, lowest walk rate, more innings than all other AL pitchers in this group. And even in the American League, he's second in innings. A swingman type, looking to maybe grab the fifth spot in the Red Sox rotation at the beginning of the year. Then Giolito goes down. Hey, maybe he's the fourth. What are we going to get from this Red Sox rotation? Tanner Houck's got massive split issues. We've broken him down, I think, 3 or 4 times already on this show. So we don't need a big breakdown. Give me a 2 to 3 sentence summary, maybe of his last start where he was absolutely dominant on Sunday Night Baseball. 6 innings, tons of Ks, has just been lighting it up for a Sox rotation that desperately needs an arm like this.
I think you're seeing a guy that's really starting to believe that what he's got now is different in terms of, I can fill up the zone, attack hitters, and have a Maddox, and go 9 innings and 94 pitches. And then the next 2 outings, only go 6 and then only go 6 2/3. Because it's just insane, like how efficient he has been. If he's going 6 to 6 2/3 innings, basically every single time out, throwing 90 to 95 pitches, they're going to be in really good shape in Boston moving forward as, they get healthier and maybe moving on years ahead. Now, this is a guy that could be a fixture in your rotation. The first thing that really comes to my mind, though, instead of like breaking down how he's throwing the splitter more, 4-seamer less, all that stuff that we've talked about, is this should also instill a lot of confidence from Red Sox fans in their front office, in Andrew Bailey, in this new regime to a degree with Breslow, that they're going to get the most out of their guys. And, if Lucas Giolito's healthy, when he comes back, I have a little bit more optimism now that they can get him right. Of course, they're not magicians. They're not going to be able to turn everybody around. But when you're seeing the tangible changes with multiple arms now, Pavetta, before he got hurt, had been on a nice stretch even before that. But Cutter Crawford, I think, is the better example too. Like, you're seeing guys that were really struggling to put it all together consistently, adjust their arsenal, and put it all together consistently. I'm excited to see how this continues as the Red Sox continue to bring arms in.
And Cutter Crawford made the honorable mentions list. He could have easily been the number 3 or number 2. There's been so many great pitchers in the American League to start, but they have 2 guys who are 2 of the best pitchers in the American League. But let's move on to the National League. And unfortunately, Jordan Hicks is our honorable mention. Unfortunately for Hicks, I don't know if he gives a shit, but he is our honorable mention, has been dicing. And it's so cool. He was a reliever with the Cardinals. Then he goes over to the Giants and becomes one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball up to this point. But at number 3, Shota Imanaga of the Chicago Cubs. 0.98 ERA, 2.40 FIP in 27 innings. He has 28 punchouts to only 3 walks. The ultimate invisible fastball, the riding life with the incredible breaking ball. Justin Steele, friend of the program, he's been on the show a couple of times, warned us all. This guy's got alien type stuff, and he's been displaying it early in Justin Steele's absence when the Cubs really need that frontline ace. Shota Imanaga has delivered. Steele is going to come back in a few weeks, and that tandem is going to be damn scary for the rest of the league.
Oh, yeah, it is. You've got 3 pitches with Imanaga that have a chase rate over 40%. And the way that he can work vertically, you mentioned the fastball, how unique it is, and then the fact that his best pitch is a splitter, working off of that just falls off the table, and then he's got the breaking ball, like you said too, that is nasty. I mean, that slider has absolutely been gross for him too. I mean, you don't see a guy with three pitches that have a chase rate 40% or above very often, and the fact that he's able to use his fastball 60% of the time and still just get these chase rates, get these whiff rates, and keep runs off the board the way that he has shows you that Emanaga's got plenty of confidence in his stuff making the leap over stateside.
And the only reason he's at number 3, Cubs fans probably want him to be at number 1. They say, my guy has a 0.98 ERA. Why is he not number 1? He hasn't made as many starts. He's only thrown 28 innings. The rest of these guys are in the mid 30s to the 40s. So we want to see what that ERA looks like after 1 or 2 more starts, but still has to be at number 3 on this list. And you'll understand why he's not number 2, because Zach Wheeler of the Philadelphia Phillies checks in at number 2 with his 1.93 ERA, with his 2.43 FIP. His highest strikeout rate is among all finalists. So among all these finalists, he punches out the most guys, and he's tied for number 1 in FWAR with Tanner Houck in Major League Baseball for starting pitchers at 1.4. I came into this year saying that Zach Wheeler was number 2 behind Garrett Cole. Right now, besides the awards, right, we're talking about April, but Zach Wheeler is the number 1 pitcher in Major League Baseball. I think that's totally fair to say.
It's interesting too because he's become such a workhorse too.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of this is, dominance, but also, dominance with a large workload. He's already had 4 consecutive outings of 100 plus pitches through 107, 100, 106, and 103. So not only is he dominating, he's also preserving your bullpen. He's going 6 innings almost every single time out there, aside from 1 5-inning start. And the problem was, he punched out too many guys. He punched out 10 there. That was probably his worst outing of the year, too, from an earned run perspective. Like, it's just insane. His last 13 in the thirds innings, he's allowed 2 hits, and he struck out 16. No runs. I think he's allowed 1 extra base hit in his last 3 starts. It was a solo shot, I believe, or a home run. Like, it is wild what he is doing, going on 34 years old very soon, from a workload perspective, from a stuff perspective. And this guy, it's not like he's been, going home early, right when the season's over. He's pitching deep into the postseason too, and they're riding him. Like, that is insane to me. He has become an absolute horse.
Absolute horse. And I think you make a really good point, about preserving the bullpen, because this Phillies bullpen has been their downfall so far. And we're going to talk about that when we go over our top 5 teams. Another thing that I think is hilarious about Zach Wheeler to this point, the Phillies have one of the best records in Major League Baseball, but he's 2-3 win-loss record.
And
Like,
that's
Phillies,
and that's why we don't talk wins very often. Like, we talk about it as a joke, it's cool, but like there's Exhibit A.
There's Exhibit A. And it makes no sense either, because the Phillies win every other game. For whatever reason, they do not come to the plate when Zach Wheeler is on the mound. It's probably a testament to Zach Wheeler. It's the Jacob deGrom effect. It's like, our pitcher is so good, I could probably sleep in a little longer this morning. All we need to do is score 1 or 2 runs. The problem is they've been sleeping in a little bit too long. So Phillies, kick it in gear, give my boy Zach Wheeler some run support. But number 1, another Philadelphia Philly, the best pitcher in the National League in the month of April, Ranger Suarez of the Philadelphia Phillies, 1.32 ERA, 2.60 FIP, second in Major League Baseball in innings. He has the second lowest walk rate in all of baseball. And then the last 30 innings, he's allowed 1 run. Unbelievable. His last start against the Padres, 8 innings, 1 run. That was a bad start for him because he gave up 1 run. That's how dominant he's been. And I've said this before, but in the age of velocity, he dominates without it. 5 pitches, commanding all of them, throws it wherever he wants. When Ranger Suarez has command of all of those pitches, say goodnight. It's going to be an early night to the showers for most teams, and he's proven it so far this season.
I mean, 40 strikeouts, 5 walks.
Ridiculous.
Sign me up for that. Every single day of the week. But combining that with such weak contact, he just does everything. It's amazing. The stretch that he's on right now, we talked about it a couple episodes ago, how you just got to tune in and watch Ranger. 4 starts now with 1 earned run, and that was on a solo shot. 30 innings and allowing 1 solo shot, and that's the only extra base hit he's allowed. So the fact that he's punching out guys at an above average clip, okay, you got to try to put the ball in play. But then beyond that, when guys are putting the ball in play, it is as weak as anybody is giving up on the mound. Like it is some of the weakest contact from any starter in baseball. So I mean, even if you're lucky enough to get the bat on it right now, it's probably straight into the ground and not hit very hard. 62% ground ball rate, 28% K rate. You have those two things together, you're going to have a really good season.
So congratulations to our American League and National League Players of the Month, our AL Hitter of the Month, Jose Altuve, our NL Hitter of the Month, Mookie Betts, our AL Pitcher of the Month, Tanner Houck, and our National League Pitcher of the Month, Ranger Suarez. So before we get to the top 5 teams for the month of April, so just another reminder before we get into our top 5 teams. Number 1, there's a full article on justbaseball.com ranking all 30 teams. Full power rankings available on justbaseball.com. You can find that in the episode description. Another reminder, we're recording this on Tuesday, April 30th, before or kind of right in the middle of when these games are being played. So this is all data as of the end of Monday, April 29th. So if the records are a little bit different, it's because we missed the last day of April to record it to be available for May 1st. Hopefully that's okay with everybody. We'll start at number 5 with the team that I didn't think would be at number 5 at the end of April, but it's the Los Angeles Dodgers, rocking a 19-12 record, a plus 42 run differential. So, that's among, top 1, top 2 teams. So they should probably have more wins than they do, but at the end of the day, they don't. But what makes this Dodgers team go? The offense. Number 1 in average, number 1 in OBP, number 1 in OPS, number 1 in runs scored, 4th in home runs. Starting pitching has been good, not great. 11th in ERA as a starting pitching staff, and the bullpen has been good, not great. 12th in ERA as a bullpen. So, Aram, obviously you haven't been disappointed like I have, because I thought this Dodgers team would win 120 games this year and compete with those 98 Yankees to win 115 or whatever games, how many they won. It has been slightly disappointing, even though they're still top 5, has it not?
It's funny. It's just what happens when you set the bar so high for yourself. And I think, everybody set the bar high for them. It's really hard in Major League Baseball to look at a team that's 7 games over 500, 31 games in and be like, oh, that's disappointing.
That's a testament to them. Testament to them.
It really is. I mean, they're tied for the most wins in baseball. Like no one's calling the Braves disappointing, and the only difference is 4 more losses. Yes, that's a lot, but it's because they played 4 more games. But at the end of the day, they both have 19 wins. I think it's again, a testament to them. I also think that they're pacing a little bit from a pitching perspective. Like they know what's coming. They know that Walker Buehler is going to be on the way. They know that their staff, I think, is just going to get stronger, as the season progresses. Hopefully, that's what you have to assume if you're looking at, when they're going to flat out dominate, and that's going to be when you get a Bobby Miller back. That's going to be when you get Emmett Sheehan back, who's was on the IL before the season started, and I really loved him as a breakout guy. That's when you get that Kershaw guy hopefully back in the second half of the season. So you see a lot of reinforcements potentially coming on the on the pitching side, and then offensively, the fact that they're bringing up like Andy Pages and he's doing what he's doing, like this offense is just going to click all year long. Like that's not a concern at all, as you mentioned. I am interested to see how the pitching, continues to look. But the fact that they could bring up a Landon Knack, who's held his own so far, Gavin Stone hasn't been great, but he's been a fine 5 thus far. Paxton's been good. I'm really interested. I think if Yamamoto kicks it into like the gear that we know that he can kick it into, I think that's a huge X factor for them before all the reinforcements come in.
And Yamamoto has looked good lately, right? I think I saw some stat that he has a 2.00 ERA in the United States, which basically means if you take out his start in Korea where he got destroyed by the Padres, it's looked a lot better. Now, can you really do that? But this early, you're taking out bad starts. But the reason I bring it up is he's looking better and better after each start.
And if you're going to take out a start, like that's the most valid one. Like
Yeah.
a week before everybody else is playing on the other side of the world, like it was pretty random and weird. Like it's fun. But at the end of the day, like if there is one start, if you want to be like, hey, like that one was kind of weird, valid, compared to anything else. And it was the first one. So I think it is important to note like what he's done since then. And it's been pretty damn good. And I think that's going to be huge for them.
But at number 4, the Philadelphia Phillies, a 19-11 record, so it's slightly better, but a worse run differential at plus 24. But from an offensive perspective and a starting pitching perspective, it's hard to find a better team in baseball. 7th in OPS as an offense, 2nd in ERA, and first in WHIP as a starting pitching staff. 5th in average on the offense, 11th in runs scored, 2nd in home runs. A lot of thump, great starters. But the issue has been, and this team has left a lot of wins on the table, ranking 29th in their bullpen ERA. That's a stat that I almost can't believe. And it is funny seeing them top 5 in strikeouts in the bullpen, but 29th in ERA. Just been a lot of bombs, a lot of weird grounders that are going through the holes. This bullpen, and this is why I love the Phillies so much, and I still think they are a solidified top 5 team, potentially with room to grow. That's how good I think this team is, because I simply cannot believe that the bullpen has been this bad. When we saw it in the postseason last year, there were a few breakouts, but it just hasn't been there this year.
You figure Alvarado is going to be better than a 5
Yeah.
ERA. And I'm not the biggest Gregory Soto fan, but you figure he's going to be better than a 7. And then how about Sir Anthony Dominguez? Near 10. They just got Kerkering back. That's going to be a huge jolt for them. If the bullpen doesn't turn around, Dombrowski is going to go get somebody. So if that is their biggest weakness right now, so be it. And the other side of it is they've got 6 starters right now. I mean, I hope that Walker ends up getting moved to like a long relief role. But if they do end up moving Turnbull to the bullpen, which I don't think they should do, obviously that makes the bullpen better. But I'd rather have him starting every 5th day. They've got arms, and they have some guys that they could call up and even potentially be relievers for them too. If relief is your biggest weakness, you're in a pretty good spot. And I even think that they could be hitting better too. I know that they rank well, but you look at what Schwarber has been doing so far, not that great. You look at Harper, even hasn't been that great so far. Castellanos has been a disaster. You figure all those guys are going to be better. I think that this team may not even be at their best form yet.
Phillies fans on YouTube, do we want Craig Kimbrell back? Do we?
No way.
To ride that roller coaster again, Phillies fans?
They'd have to be down so bad.
I don't know. They're down bad right now, but the offense and the starting pitching has been so damn good that they still come in at number 4, but they ain't number 3. At number 3, the New York Yankees, 19-11 record, plus 41 run differential. They hit a lot of bombs. They're 6th in OPS as an offense, 3rd in OPB. That's the big one for me. Taking pitches, wearing out the starter, getting into the bullpen, they wear you down as an offense. From a starting pitching perspective, without Garrett Cole, top 5, 4th in ERA as a staff. Is the bullpen lacking? Absolutely not. 5th in ERA from every side of the ball. Now, the Yankees, I watch a lot of Yankees baseball. This team needs to get better defensively. They're booting too many easy ground balls. But if that's my issue right now with the Yankees, I'm on a bed of flowers, because we'll start catching those routine balls. Aaron Judge is going to start heating up. This Yankees team, now they were number 2, but I said, they were number 2. I personally bumped them down to number 3 because our number 2 team has just been better by the stats. So you got to give it to them. But the Yankees, it's cooking. I don't know what else to say. I'm just excited. So I'm going to throw it over to you.
This is the most I believed in them in a minute. And also, I was about to say, when is Austin Wells going to just have a ball fall? He just homered.
There we go.
He just homered. So, there we go. I've never seen anything like it. The guy has a 263 WOBA before that homer and a 401 xWOBA. I've never seen anything like that. So you figure Wells gets going. You mentioned Judge heating up. Like the fact that they were playing at this level without really the team clicking on all cylinders from an offensive perspective says a lot. And then the staff, man, like we knew the staff could be this. Yeah, I didn't think it would be like this without Cole, but like Carlos Rodon's finally pitching like Carlos Rodon, which is what we were hoping and expecting. Stroman, even if he's hovering in the upper threes, like that's what they kind of signed him to be. And just seeing Nestor healthy and Clark Schmidt has been huge for them. And Will Warren, by the way, in AAA is shoving. And that's a guy that, could come up and help them. And the way that they just put together a bullpen every single year is just really impressive. I'm bought in on this team this year, man. I think they are. I think they're going to be tough to beat, especially if they get Cole back this year, which is the plan.
Here's the thing, though. We're talking about Will Warren shoving in AAA. I don't know if he's taking Luis Heal's spot right now. Luis Heel is freaking nasty. Now, he's tough to bet on from a betting perspective because the walks are just crazy. And then one day he looks like the greatest pitcher alive. And then the next day he has no idea where it's going. But over the month of April, he has been huge for the Yankees. And you kind of want that as a five starter. Like, would you rather like some average ass arm where it's like, all right, we know we got to score 4? Or would you rather a guy who maybe allows 7 or throws a shutout? I kind of want the wild card. He's out. He's the Yankees version of Edward Cabrera. He's our guy.
He actually is. I think that's a great comp. It depends on the day you ask me. Some days I am just not in the mood for that crap. And then other days it's like, all right, let's roll the dice. Let's see what happens because it could be special.
He makes Yankee baseball more entertaining, and I'm here for it. And the numbers look great. But at number 2, I had to bump the Yankees down to 3. I'm sorry, Yankee fans, because the number 2 team in Major League Baseball through the month of April is the Cleveland Guardians. 19-9 record. That's second in Major League Baseball with a plus 46 run differential, which is tied for first. Both better than the Yankees. What else can I say? And they're the only team in Major League Baseball with over 140 runs scored to this point and less than 100 runs allowed. You make fun of this Guardians offense, and they keep hitting. 13th in OPS, 8th in average, 8th in OBP. Now, the starting pitching has been fine, but we also have to remember they lost Shane Bieber. Tristan McKenzie has not been fully healthy, and they're 14th in ERA. So that's their weak spot because on defense, they're elite. On the base pass, they're 4th in stolen bases and in the bullpen. It's just a classic Guardians bullpen that suffocates you. Last year, there were some blowups, there were some injuries. It just didn't make sense that this Guardians bullpen was not as elite as the names that are on the roster. However, they're all kicking it in gear this year. 2nd in ERA, 3rd in WHIP, 3rd in strikeouts, 1st in home runs allowed the good way. They don't allow any home runs ever. This Guardians team is the definition of a team. They remind me of the Knicks. The Jalen Brunson-led Knicks who are kicking the shit out of the Sixers. A team. And I'm joking about the Knicks, but in totality, like this is the ultimate baseball team of April right now. If you're looking at from Jose Ramirez at the top to the last guy on the bench, to be 19-9, obviously the Braves are the best team. We're going to talk about them in a second. But from a team perspective, led by first-year manager Stephen Vogt, been incredibly exciting in Cleveland.
I mean, I'm with you. I mean, just wait till Bybee. I mean, Bybee's really starting to kick it in gear now. Like, I think that's gonna really help them. And McKenzie just suddenly looking a little bit better. So hopefully that continues. And then they're gonna get Gavin Williams back. You hope. It was elbow inflammation, so that was back in March. So you're hoping that he comes back relatively soon, and that's a huge boost to the rotation. And then you figure they're gonna get more offense from that outfield, or they'll just go find somebody that's going to be better than what they're getting from the outfield outside of, Stephen Kwan, who's been amazing. This team's just been really fun to watch because they're so well-rounded, and it's so great to see Emmanuel Clase back to being, one of the best relievers in the entire sport, which is just huge for them, as you mentioned, just seeing the bullpen kind of get back to, what we've become accustomed to from the Cleveland Guardians.
100%, but they ain't number 1. And number 1 is the team that you already knew. The Atlanta Braves. They have the best record in baseball at 19-8. They're tied with the Guardians for the best run differential at plus 46. And they've only allowed 104 runs, which is the best in the National League. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is, what do we know about the Braves? They hit. It's overwhelming. But the fact is that this Braves team loses Spencer Strider and yet is still the best team at run prevention in the National League to this point. We ain't worried about the offense. They're second in OPS in all of Major League Baseball. Starting pitching staff, like I said, seventh in ERA, fifth in WHIP. Guys like Reynaldo Lopez, even Darius Pines has made some spot starts. Bryce Elder has picked up where he left off last season when I think, was he an All-Star arm? Do you remember that? Was Bryce Elder an
I don't
All-Star?
remember if he ended up making it or not, but it just
I
did.
don't
Then it
remember
fell
either.
off bad. Yeah, he looks like first half Elder.
He looks like first half Elder. And then the bullpen, 11th in ERA, 10th in WHIP. What I love about this bullpen, they don't walk a soul. They're first in walks allowed. Kind of like what I was talking about earlier. The good kind. They don't allow any walks. I don't know a weakness on this Braves team, Aram. Do you?
That's pretty hard to find, especially now that Max Fried is pitching like Max Fried.
Yep.
You know, we've got 15 straight scoreless from him in his last two starts, including, I know it was the Marlins, but a CG, that way, a Maddox with 92 pitches is pretty crazy. And then followed that up with a good start against the Mariners. Two not great offenses, but it doesn't matter. I think it looks like Max Fried is kind of getting back to who he is, and they need that. But the Lopez revelation, I think, has been the huge part of it. Because again, we knew they were going to hit. You said that, and I didn't know that they were going to hit like this with Ozuna. And you look through the lineup, that, like you said, there's not really one weakness, but having Lopez involved there too and doing what he's doing. And like we said, like if Chris Sale's even throwing to 60% of Chris Sale, which is kind of what he's doing right now, which is really good. They're in a great spot, and that's exactly why they are in the number one spot of our power rankings.
And that was the best of April. We gave you AL and NL hitters and pitchers of the month. We gave you our top 5 teams. But remember, we went over kind of the top end stuff. There's much more analysis on justbaseball.com. Full 30 teams, all power ranked again on justbaseball.com. All those links are in the episode description. Make sure to get your Just Baseball merch. I'm rocking my hat. Arm's rocking his sweatshirt. Jack's not on the show, so we don't got to worry about that idiot not wearing merch.
Yeah,
Don't be
he's not wearing it.
You know he's not wearing shit. Go get your Just Baseball merch. Get it in the episode description. Tons of new stuff. Arm's posting amazing pictures of his dog in the bandana. Cutest pictures in the world. Make sure to get yours. Get your dog a present. When's the last time you got your dog a present? Go get yours in our merch store. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. 5 stars. It's the best way to help out our show. And subscribe on YouTube. And for all those commenters on YouTube, let us know. Did we nail the awards? Did we miss anybody? Let us know. We'll definitely review those. But for Arm Layden, I'm Peter Apple. We'll be back on Thursday. And with that, thank you, everybody.